Yes, indeed. Now, if you've spotted a car on sale by the roadside, you might think you've come across a bargain. But as Lucy's been finding out, you could be making a big mistake.
What's this? A man putting his car up for sale by the side of the road? It looks in pretty good condition, and he'll be only too keen to reassure you it's had one careful lady owner. What he won't tell you is that, like an increasing number of people who sell cars on the roadside, he's not actually a private seller at all. He's a trader, and maybe even does this for a living. More worryingly, he'll also fail to mention he could well have bought it here, from a scrapyard.
And because you think you've bought from a private seller, you'll assume your rights are very limited if things go wrong.
The number of people selling cars in this way is on the increase, and the authorities are keen to crack down. In Gwent, trading standards officers have been pursuing one man whose cars you certainly wouldn't want to buy. Steve Jones heads the team who ran the investigation. It all began when they received a call from someone who'd just bought a Ford car.
The main things wrong with the car related to the wheels and tyres. Basically, the wheels and tyres were too big for the car, so you can imagine turning the corners, it was rubbing against the wheel arches. She'd actually, after speaking to us, commissioned an MOT test on it where it was condemned as dangerous.
The woman who'd bought the car had specifically asked the seller if it had been in an accident. He'd said no. But in fact, the car had been written off in an accident just months previously. This is how badly it had been damaged.
By now, trading standards were very keen to find out more about the seller, 30-year-old Martin Phillips from Bryn Mawr. Had he just sold one car, or was he in the habit of posing as a private seller?
Investigating officers discovered that Mr. Phillips was regularly selling cars on the roadside. They then spent months carrying out surveillance, checking to see if his mobile number was appearing on cars for sale. They also discovered he was selling through the local classified ads. That's where Michael Thorpe from Newport spotted a Ford Escort he thought was just the motor he needed for work and days out with the kids.
Basically, I wanted to get a car for work because I just had a new job, and take the kids back and forth to a Bali or Porthcawl or out for a day trip somewhere.
So Michael rang the seller, Martin Phillips. Phillips said it was his wife who was keen to sell the car as she was having a baby. Michael had no reason to suspect this wasn't a private seller.
My father said he'd loan me the money to buy the car. He had a look at it and he said, yeah. After about 2 or 3 weeks, things started going wrong with it. I had oil leaking from there. The brakes started leaking. The underneath cover actually came off altogether. So I took it to a garage. They fitted a new one on, tried to sort out the leak. And it's just one problem after another after that.
Trading standards discovered Michael's car had been written off by an insurance company just 8 weeks before he bought it. So much for Mr. Phillips' claims his wife had owned it for 3 years.
He was buying cars predominantly, certainly from salvage operators in England, doing them up, getting MOTs on them, and they'd been write-offs. He then sold them on to local people, and some of those cars were dangerous.
Officers also discovered that Martin Phillips had a favourite selling spot at this roundabout in Bryn Mawr. The evidence of one woman who bought a car here proved crucial in bringing him to justice.
Martin Phillips sold her a Vauxhall Corsa that was in a dangerous condition, with a bent and fractured steering arm. But there was yet another twist to this tale.
He had 2 bites at the cherry with this particular car. He'd sold it originally after buying it as salvage, did it up, sold it to a Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis then wrote it off for a second time. So he bought it back off Mr. Lewis and then resold it to our consumer.
As well as selling her a dangerous car, Martin Phillips failed to tell her he was a trader. The receipt proved vital evidence of his deception. as Phillips was posing as the car's previous owner.
By the end of their investigation, officers had found evidence that Martin Phillips had been posing as a private car seller here in Bryn Mawr since May 2006, but they believe it could have been going on a lot longer.
In fact, they discovered he'd been buying salvage vehicles since as far back as 2001. 9 charges were brought against Martin Phillips for selling unsafe cars, posing as a private seller, falsely describing a car, and writing "sold as seen" on receipts.
Here at Abertillery Magistrates Court, Martin Phillips pleaded guilty to the 9 charges. He was later sentenced to 9 weeks in prison for the 2 most serious offences and ordered to pay £1,000 costs.
It certainly put the occupants at risk at the very least. And we're not talking just occupants, we're talking other road users, maybe pedestrians. They were dangerous vehicles.
So with sellers like Martin Phillips out there, what should you bear in mind if you're tempted to buy a car you see for sale at the side of the road? We asked our driving expert, Mark James.
Don't buy it from the roadside. Do your homework, take a note of the number, call the person back, and arrange to see the car, not in a lay-by or a car park or a motorway service area, but at the seller's house. Make sure the address that you see the car is the same address as the V5 at the logbook. Make sure you see all the paperwork and make sure you talk to the person. Make sure you try and get a feel for why they're selling the car and something of the history. You need to, for example, arrange an HPI check to make sure that the car has no outstanding finance, that it's not been declared a total loss, a write-off. You need to do your homework as to how much the car is actually worth, so you're not paying too much or, equally as importantly, too little.
With one successful prosecution under their belt, Steve's staff are now determined to track down other rogue traders.
I think on the strength of this particular case, it's opened our eyes up to some of the problems out there. We were putting resources into it, but I'm up in the ante a bit and giving it a higher priority now. And we've already uncovered another 4 people who are under investigation.